Hey everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the Mike Muldoon podcast. Thanks so much for joining me. Hope you're having a great week. Hope you got some great plans going ahead. We're getting into that winter season right now. You know, getting darker a little bit earlier. Sometimes people struggle with that. I know I struggle with that a little bit. I like the longer days. I feel like we're in the slingshot season right now, though technically being in England, I do miss a holiday. I say the slingshot season because I always feel like, especially for my family, there's so many birthdays in September. So it's like there's birthdays in September, then it's birthdays in October, and then before you know it, it's Halloween, then you're slingshot to Thanksgiving, then you're slingshot to Christmas. Before you know it, it's January. So it's slingshot season here, but it's crazy. But you know what? I'm going to be a little off topic today, not too far off topic, but I need to talk about something. You know, I get on social media like anybody else, but mostly just for my news, just more depressing news about the Jets. Just so hard. It's so hard this year. You know, my brothers are Mets, Jets, Knicks, Islander fans. I don't know how they do it. I don't know how these guys do it. It's insane how they can deal with so much frustration. Though I guess the Mets had a pretty good run this year, but oh man. Anyway, but of course, I see all these other posts and all these just ridiculous posts out there, and there's just a lot of ignorance, right? And I'm not, and it's truthful ignorance, because there are things out there that people are just sharing that doesn't even make sense. And really what I want to talk about, is ignorance is not an excuse, okay? We're going to talk about really why it's not an excuse, right? You just can't put your head in the sand. I mean, one of the biggest things that people need to understand is the easiest way to destabilize a country is to get people to stop supporting its government. I'm seeing that all the time. People are like, we should just stop supporting the government. Okay, well, great. Just let a foreign entity now come in and just take us over. I mean, maybe I'm being a little far-fetched here, but seriously, that's not what you want to have. We need to figure out a way to work together. But, in this age where information is just at our fingertips, the idea of ignorance as an excuse just seems to be outdated, right? There used to be a time where, maybe you had to go out to the world and you had to do some research and really put it up. But there's a lot of information at our fingertips, and a lot of it you can cross-check. A lot of it you can do some research. You can, like for me, I look at both sides. Like, oh, what's that side saying? What's this side saying? What's the middle ground? What am I looking at here? That's what I do. But yet so many people just choose to remain uninformed, misinformed, especially when information challenges their pre-existing viewpoints, right? So they'll find something that seems to work for them. This party does this, and I'm going to share it. And it can seem so ridiculous. And just a simple Google search will tell you it is ridiculous. But for a lot of people, whether it's just, maybe it's just avoiding fact checking, or just a lot of it is just clinging to comfortable half truths, or, they just want to ignore contrary evidence, right? There's a psychological forces behind this that behind willful ignorance that's awfully deeply ingrained. Like for some people, it's deeply ingrained, but ultimately ignorance is not an excuse, especially when it perpetuates harm, division, and misunderstanding. And again, this is not a political conversation today, but we really do need to talk about, how it's important that we start moving away from this world of ignorance and start moving towards more of a place of understanding each other. One of the most significant psychological factors behind ignorance is basically something called cognitive dissonance, right? It's the discomfort we feel when we encounter information that contradicts our beliefs. So for many, it's easier to dismiss new information than just to adjust their worldview, even if that information seems very, very true, to the point that maybe you're so believe so much that color's red, but realistically it's blue, and everything's saying it's blue, but you want to dismiss that information because it makes you very uncomfortable, because changing our beliefs in something often feels like admitting we were wrong. And that could be painful or unsettling to so many people. Imagine hearing evidence that contradicts something you have always believed in, something you have been told forever. And a lot of this we do talk about in subconscious programming, right? Which make it really harder. You've always believed in something, maybe again, a long held political opinion or a deeply personal conviction about something. But instead of grappling with that information, the brain's natural response is often going to be, to seek out information that reinforces your existing belief. It's basically a phenomenon known as confirmation bias. Now, nowadays, you don't even have to seek it out because social media algorithms will show you what you want. It will confirm it. I don't know if you know any of this or if you guys are familiar. Have you ever went down the rabbit hole in something and before you know it, more information keeps popping up, more articles pop up, more stories that reinforce your belief comes up. And that's why sometimes you might be talking to one of your friends going, what do you mean you don't know about this? What do you mean? How do you not know? It's there. It's because their algorithm is showing them alligators and snakes and BMX and other articles, things that they're in. Because what happens with these algorithms, right? They catch your eyes and they know, oh, you really like this. So because you really like this, let's give you more. It's not trying to be evil. It's not trying to reinforce your opinion. Like I said, whether you like, confirming some of your political beliefs or you like bunnies, it's just going to give you more. Like, for instance, right now, I'm a huge, I don't know why I'm really into comedy right now. And because I know the algorithms work this way, and I'm going to butcher his name, and I don't know. I know his first name is Nate, but I don't know if it's Bargancy. And also, who's the other guy I like? I can't think of his name right. Anyway, what I'm saying is that guy's brilliant. His stand-up is amazing. Or like Sebastian Maniscalco as well. Did I say it? God, I hope I didn't butcher that as well. But I'm saying like these two guys, right? I think these guys are hysterical. And so I always look at their stuff. And what do I get? More of it, because that's what the algorithm does. So again, you don't have to go out very far now to find confirmation bias because the social media algorithms will give it to you, and then you will beat your head on the wall. How do you not know this? How do you not know this? It's because they're not getting that. And the psychological pattern, right? It drives people to surround themselves with agreeable sources because I can't be wrong. Basically, further insulating them from challenging perspectives. But as convenient as this might feel in the moment, ignoring facts or avoiding the uncomfortable truths doesn't make the underlying reality go away. The world continues to function outside the bubble of personal belief. Ignoring key information can lead to harmful consequences, both for individuals and society at all. I mean, like I said, some of the stuff that I get shared, and again, I'm on both sides, are so ludicrous, so ridiculous. And I just see people automatically just resharing it. It doesn't even make sense. But what happens is you're hitting a larger market of people who don't think for themselves and get enraged and fired up. And now they're screaming at their neighbors, or they're screaming on Twitter, or they're argumentative and they're pissed off, when realistically just a little bit of work would made them realize this isn't true. This is not. Another psychological factor is the brain's preference for simplicity, right? The brain always wants to do what's easier. The body always wants to do what's easier. If you're working out, I got this trainer right now helping me out, fix a couple of things. And, and he points it out. It's like, oh, your body wants to take the easier way. It wants you to get this involved because it'll make it easier for you to push through that squat. But we don't want to do that, right? So the same thing, the brain has a preference for simplicity. Cognitive ease refers to the way our brains naturally gravitate towards ideas that are easier to process and understand. But unfortunately, facts, science, and the truth, they're often complex and nuanced. And while misinformation or simplistic explanations can be much more digestible, this is why conspiracy theories and easy answers often gain traction. They fit very neatly into an already established worldview, giving a sense of order or clarity without the need for really more further investigation. The internet and social media exasperates this problem by offering a constant stream of content that makes it easier to consume, but not necessarily factual. And as people, scroll through it, they're bombarded with quick takes, simplified narratives that confirm what they want to believe. Oh, this happened between this point, but not understanding why that happened, but it fits their narrative. This promotes a really shallow understanding of important issues, which then feeds back into this cycle of ignorance. There's something called the ostrich effect. And it's a term really borrowed from the myth that ostriches bury their head in the sand, right? We talked about that earlier. You can't put your head in the sand to avoid danger. It describes this tendency of people to avoid negative information, whether it's news about climate change or political corruption or personal health, people often choose to ignore information that makes them uncomfortable or makes them anxious. You know, in a world that's really overflowing with news, alerts, and data, it's easy to see how someone might tune out certain facts to preserve their mental peace. But ignoring reality doesn't change reality. For instance, disregarding scientific consensus on issues like climate change or public health because they're distressing doesn't stop the issues from impacting the world around us. Now, choosing ignorance might feel like a personal decision, but in reality, it often affects more than just the individual. The misinformation spreads rapidly. Okay? Unchecked beliefs can contribute to real-world problems. Political polarization. The spread of dangerous conspiracy theories and even the undermining of public health. The collective consequences of individual ignorance can be massive. It's important to just recognize that seeking out truth is responsibility. And we have it easier nowadays, or at least a way to get some information and maybe go, am I really looking at this? It's amazing how much information can really be disproved on about 2 or 3 Google searches. But again, in a world with constant media bombardment, taking the time to fact check, cross-reference sources, and reflect what we're consuming is essential. This requires not just intelligence, but emotional resilience, the ability to face uncomfortable truths and make an adjustment as needed. And you know what really scares me? I'm seeing more and more of this in young people. And listen, young people, you're smart, you're brilliant, and you have a lot of things that can really help you get ahead. And I know sometimes a lot of young people feel like they're being held back or, things are harder for them. I don't know about that, but again, we won't talk about that right now. But I'm seeing a lot of it. It's just easy. It's like because they grew up on social media. It's a TikTok generation, a Twitter generation, a Facebook generation, and Instagram. It's very easy to get your news. Oh, I got my 3 seconds of news here. Oh my God, that's horrible. I'm going to share that with the world. Whereas when I was growing up, and even so our parents, like I'd see my dad sitting at the table. He'd have 2 or 3 different newspapers, and he'd spend an hour or so reading the newspaper. My dad still, until he passed away a year ago, was still a newspaper guy. It was hard to find him, but he was a newspaper guy. He would literally read to at least try to get a better understanding. Now, look, I understand newspapers can be biased as well, but I'm saying it wasn't just one newspaper. It was several newspapers. And look, we can also talk about journalism, some challenges there, again, because we have 24-hour news cycles. Everybody wants to get out. Everybody wants to share. I often joke around that sometimes there's, you'll hear a story like, 6 people dead, shooting down the street. And then as the story progresses, it's like, oh, it was only 3 people and they were semi-hurt. Oh, no, we got more information on the story. No, it turns out a car backfired. Nobody was hurt. A couple of people jumped. They were a little shocked, but nothing happened. And I get it. News has its challenges as well, but not all news does. Now, I'm not talking about one news network because we know the 2 that everybody always wants to argue again, which is even another thing, talking about confirmation bias. We all know if you're a Republican, you're going to get all your confirmation bias from Fox News. And if you're a Democrat, you're going to get all your confirmation bias from CNN. How about next time just watching both of them, right? But it's important. So how do we combat ignorance? We have to understand that being wrong or not knowing something is not failure. It's an opportunity to learn and grow. Actively seek out information that contradicts your opinions and learn to engage with it critically. Don't surround yourself with information just because it confirms your beliefs. I have friends and I are on opposite sides of the political spectrum, and yet I'll ask them, I'll say, well, what do you think about this? Like, yeah, well, what does your person think about this? Well, why do you see it your way? Oh, yeah, that's interesting. I never saw it that way. Maybe that's just part of growing up and being an adult. But asking, I have friends and they listen to this podcast and I'm sure they're going to go, yeah, he is completely on the other side of where we're at. But I'm never fighting with him, I'm never arguing with him about it. I do ask questions. I want to know. Recognize that none of us really have all the answers and that it's okay to admit when we're wrong or uninformed. This kind of mindset really opens the door to growth and understanding. Fact check. In an age of so much misinformation, and it's getting worse because of AI. We all know it. We see the videos. It's crucial to verify information before accepting or sharing it. Because for, again, what you think is a really subtle, like, oh, I'll just put this out on my Facebook. Well, okay, maybe you're like, I don't know if it's really true, but I just want to share it because I want my other friends to vote for this person. But you might hit 2 or 3 or 4 other people who are suddenly so radicalized that they might actually go out and commit a crime or hurt somebody because they're so mad at that post that they saw. They go out in their car and they're driving that day and they see somebody pisses them off and they get out of the car. It's called a ripple effect. So do your best to try to use reliable sources. Cross-check your facts before forming opinions. You never know how that ripple effect might not come back and help you or hurt you. You know, what about if it was one of your family members? What about if you put something out there on your thing? Somebody gets so hard, so hostile. They're so mad. They're so angry. They're in a store. Your family member just happens to be in the same store because you all grew up in the same small town. And all of a sudden, that person just gets angry because of what you said. That anger manifests itself into somebody cut them in line, and suddenly, they get punched in the face. Social media, again, we talked about it. You got to avoid the echo chamber, man. Those media algorithms and all our tendencies just often place us in these echo chambers of, again, seeing the same stuff over and over and over again, which is also kind of interesting. If you ever look at your friends' feeds, you kind of know what they're looking at because, with mine, like I said, I don't know, alligators, crocodiles, gigantic snakes, BMX stuff. That's what I'm looking at. But you know what? In these echo chambers, these are spaces where we only encounter viewpoints that match our own. The things that we're interested in. So you got to break free from these spaces. Diversify your information and sources, okay? Ignorance isn't bliss. It's not. While it might feel comforting to just stick what we know or avoid challenging information, ignorance is never an excuse. With the amount of knowledge available at our fingertips, we have a responsibility to at least try to seek the truth. Question our beliefs. Engage in a world with a more thoughtful, informed way. And I know for some people, I don't have time for this. Yeah, you probably do. You probably do have time for it. Because if I looked at your phone and saw how much time you probably spend looking at things and, clicking through and scrolling through, you probably got plenty of time. Burying your head in the sand doesn't protect us from reality. It just leaves us unprepared to face it. So ignorance is a choice, but informed action is a responsibility we all need to share. Now, I'm sorry. I know this one might seem a little bit more angry, but the truth is, I cannot believe the amount of stuff. It's really funny. This guy I went to high school with, he put something on there, and I was like, bro, really? Like, you didn't even fact check that. Like, that took that's so far insane. That's not true. So anyway, we had a little, little joking session on it. I was like, buddy, just do me a favor, whatever you do, just a little research, a little Google search, right? And he said, again, it was good banter. So then he knows I'm in England. He's like, well, on the side note, how's the Queen doing? And I was like, bro, you literally just walked right into what I've been talking about. The Queen's been dead for 2 years. Research, man. Research. Crazy. So anyway, look, I actually had a whole different podcast scripted, ready to go. I always outline my podcast on something completely different. But after I was looking at my news, and obviously, no matter how much, it's funny, on my social media, I have like no followers on Twitter, and I only follow about 6 people. I just get it for some news, which is more sports news than anything else. But of course, things get pushed in there, and I'm just looking at some of these things, and I'm like, they don't even make sense. Like, there's nothing. That's not true. And it's not even confirmation bias on my end. I'm not sitting there going, no, I know that's not true. I know that's not. It's just so far-fetched that you just a little fact checking, you'll find it's not there. But again, we live in this world of 30-second clips, 60-second clips, and it's all condensed there. And it's, what is it always going to be? It's going to be the slant that it's trying to get across, and it's going to be the slant, because if you're paying attention, that you agree with. Come on, people, we got to do better. I often say, and I've said it in the past, this world needs an alien invasion. If we had an alien invasion, all of a sudden, everybody puts away their side. Everybody is like, you know what? We're good, because we got to work together here. So let's put our egos aside. Look, nobody's perfect. Whoever gets in office this year in the U.S., somebody's going to be pissed. They're not going to be perfect. The other person wouldn't be perfect either. There's no perfect situation. There isn't. It's just there's no way that anybody can govern or manage to make something perfect for everyone. There is always going to be sacrifices. And I know everybody's listening on each side of the party right now is going, well, of course, my guy will just make less sacrifices. My woman will make less sacrifices. But we got to learn to get together. We got to come together. It is the United States for a reason. I mean, have we not looked at other empires? They fall. Why? Because when people start or stop just believing in their government. I saw somebody say something the other day, and I'm sorry, I know I keep going on here, but I saw something the other day. So, we should just let the government fail. Are you kidding me? That is not a good idea. That is not a very smart statement, to let the government fail. And I know there's some people out there who will flex on, well, it's okay because we'll be able to take care of ourselves. No, you won't. I don't care how many guns you have. I don't care how strong you think you are. If another country decided, if America was in fragments and wanted, you're not doing anything. You're not. If another country came in and invaded us, it's not. Unless you're going to match their technology, it's not. So why don't we all just get along? Because I think at the end of the day, Americans, I think we want the best. Like most people, when you talk to Americans, they are good people. They want the best. Everybody's just so angry, and nobody realizes, or some people realize that they're literally being pushed this way, through social media and this and that. It's a forced division. Look, you can have a difference of opinion. You can. I have different opinions, but it doesn't mean you got to get angry and hate everybody. It doesn't. And just do a little bit more. Maybe you might learn something from their side. Maybe they're going to learn something from your side. But we got to get along. We got to. We are much stronger together. And I really don't want an alien invasion because who knows what they're going to bring. But we got to do it together. We got to do it together. Okay? Anyway, that's my phone ringing. And as always, I got nothing but love for you. I wish you the best. Have a great weekend. Try to be happy. Find some joy. And I will talk to you soon.